So Murkowski, the senior senator from Alaska, signaled that she might not go along with a lot of the comments that McConnell has made about working with Trump's lawyers for the impeachment trial whenever it ends up occurring, because Pelosi is withholding the papers. And TYT broke down the media coverage of Murkowski's comments. So I'm going to play what they had to say and then respond to it.
I don't know what it is about this particular story. Maybe it's because I'm fed up with the media preemptively giving Republicans credit for something they don't deserve. Like, words are words. I don't care about your words. I care about your actions. So it's one thing to be like, I don't know if I agree with the way McConnell is approaching this. And the way they cover it is, oh, strong words for McConnell. Oh, Murkowski shows that she's independent and she likes it. No, she's gonna do what McConnell wants her to do. She's gonna do what Trump wants her to do. Can we not give her credit until we see how she actually behaves when the Senate trial happens?
Yeah, so now let me tell you what percentage of time that Murkowski votes with Trump. Now look, most of the Republicans are over 90%. So I'm giving you that to be fair and to give you context. But Murkowski votes with Trump 74% of the time. So a moderate seems to indicate 50-50, right? No, not moderate, 74%. Yes, most other Republicans are worse, but 3/4 of the time, she's like rubber stamps Trump, awesome, wonderful, etc. Now, again, one more piece of context to be fair. Some Democrats, like Cuellar in Texas, vote with Trump 70% of the time. So Murkowski and Cuellar head to head. That's a great reason to vote for Jessica Cisneros, Cuellar's primary opponent, who's a Just Democrat. You can look her up at justdemocrats.com. But and then they'll call Cuellar moderate. He's not moderate. He's a massively conservative Democrat.
Right.
So anyway, you get the point. The point is that Murkowski almost always votes with, I just told you the percentage, with Trump. And so it would be very surprising if she voted to convict him in the Senate. And the last part of the theater, guys, is that sometimes they do that, and sometimes she does vote against Trump, but only when they know they're already going to win, and not necessarily when they're the deciding vote. Murkowski from time to time has, cast deciding votes, okay, but that is extremely rare. And a lot of times McConnell will release senators, Republican senators who are in vulnerable seats to vote against them, but only if he knows he's already going to win.
So their comments really signify every problem I have with, I guess you could say, people not getting credit for doing things that supposedly were great or good a few years ago. How if you do one thing they don't like, or if they think you're going to do something they don't like, all of it just gets washed away. So you see Cenk, and whether he did this consciously or subconsciously, I really don't care. He still did this. Downplayed Murkowski's contributions, if one could say, to Democratic votes. So, for example, she was one of two senators, along with Collins, from the Republican side, to vote against DeVos. Her nomination for education secretary, a person who's been argued to be the worst education secretary we've ever had in its 40 years of existence. She voted along with Collins and McCain to keep Obamacare or to not repeal it, against Kavanaugh, supposedly the worst associate justice nominee ever, according to a lot of these Democrats. So when he says, "Oh, she's had a couple of votes," it's like, yeah, but you're not specifying which ones. If you look at most of these figures and votes, right, and you said, "Hey, do you agree with Murkowski?" If you ask Democrats, "Do you agree with Murkowski on this particular vote?" They'd probably say yes. But they don't do that on purpose because they're either too lazy to go and look and see what specifically she voted with Democrats on, or it's a lot easier to make someone look like just another empty bag of flesh if you don't specify what they did. But let's go over to Anna's comment, which was a little bit earlier in that clip. She says, "I like actions, not words." And I agree with that. I think actions matter more than words. I've had a lot of people have actually tried to go after me for saying things they don't like versus people doing things that have been detrimental to the lives of others. But here's the problem with that comment. Now, I can recall Anna in a segment from, I believe it was 3 years ago. She was there with, I think, 2 other people. And you can actually look the segment up. It was when Carly Fiorina then a Republican candidate for president, the 2016 Republican primary, kept making comments about Hillary and her marriage to, the former President Clinton. And during this segment, Anna, expressed her being upset with Fiorina for making those kind of comments. So let's not pretend that we don't have multiple clips of you for, being upset over something somebody said. And we all remember the infamous clip with the little private sports team group of dudes that were talking about chicks on the Google Doc. And she was like, they made this non-public thing to talk about how women in their class looked. Shame on them. And even Cenk was like, yeah, that kind of isn't a big deal. But let's go over to the most offensive comment of any of these, which is Cenk saying, oh, well, she admittedly does vote with Trump less than the other Republicans, but it's still 70% of the time. So how is she a moderate? Well, from what I understand, the word moderate means, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, when you vote with the other party or without your party more often than other members. So you're a moderate in comparison to the other people that are there. That's like if I'm a Democrat and I vote my party 60% of the time and everybody else or most people vote 90, I'm a moderate in comparison to the rest of them, which is why that term is even used at all. I've never once seen anyone say a moderate must vote 50-50 with both sides. Yeah. No, it's supposed to be depending on what the average is. But see, that's another way to discredit Murkowski actually on multiple occasions voting against Trump on various issues. And that's why I said that when you are a moderate senator, you're someone that tries to look at both sides, you really can't win with one or the other. There's actually a really good quotation about Manchin, who I don't like because he is a moderate in every horrible sense of the word. He votes with Trump like a rubber stamp a lot of times. He had a comment on it's some page of his where they're like, liberals think he's too conservative for the Democratic Party and Republicans think he's too liberal for West Virginia. You can't win. But I've actually said before that when it comes to both Collins and Murkowski, I defend them because I can name multiple votes they have that are not like other Republicans, and that if people actually looked at someone's record in full, they might be surprised. They might even go, wait a second, that person's not as bad as the rest of them. What was I thinking? But this is something that TYT will not give Murkowski because they're in the middle of their tackle Republicans impeachment mode. So they're going to let her get talked badly about, even when it's not deserving. When she actually, if she votes to acquit Trump, it'll be worth being upset over that. But until then, keep some kind of open mind. I'm not saying the media coverage was great or wonderful or that it was deserved, but I mean, the whole point they were making was you haven't had other members of Trump's party come out and say, I don't want to be like the rest of the Senate Republicans as it comes to corroborating evidence or our story with Trump's lawyers. So I don't get them, but whatever.